Shall we start, ma'am?
Sure.
How many of them have responded to your Google form? Did you see?
Yes, 27.
Okay, fine. We have 28 participants. Perhaps Ashwin not done, responded. His face-
27, 26 actually. One was just a test mail which I had sent.
Okay.
26
Okay.
people had.
Achha.
1 minute, I'll just be back. I think we can begin.
Yeah, ma'am. I'm waiting for to admit them. Yeah.
Yeah, as you say.
Fine, fine. I'll start, ma'am.
I wanted to
So
just
we
check
are-
audio is okay because there might be there is some work going on next door and there might
Okay.
be
Yeah,
sound of
audio for
some
me is fine. It's fine, ma'am.
there might be some hammering sounds in between, but I hope we can overcome those little things.
So, welcome again. So we meet again on the 10th day of this refresher course in English being organized by UGC Human Resource Development Center of Rashtrasant Tukadoji Maharaj, Nagpur University, Nagpur. Topic of the program is literature, culture and technology, mediations and intersections. Friends, the resource person for the session is Dr. Ruta Dharmadhikari. Ma'am is head and associate professor, Department of English at LAD College, Nagpur. Ma'am's areas of academic interest and research are poetry, film, media, gender, culture studies, higher education, and quality assurance. Ma'am is the course coordinator of the Media Studies and Journalism Certificate course, as well as certificate course in soft skills in her college. She is a founder, editor, and mentor of the college student e-magazine, Jabberwocky. Is that properly pronounced, ma'am? Jabberwocky. And her department has instituted Dr. Kamla Narayan Memorial Lecture, which has been carried out since 2021. In college, ma'am is also taking care of Film Club, Cinecon, which is affiliated to the Federation of Film Societies of India, as SQAC, Student Quality Assurance Cell coordinator. Ma'am works closely with students and mentors their emotional and spiritual growth through activities like Cultural Katta, the Book Club, and Art Adda and Aura, the Cultural Feast. Ma'am has delivered academic lectures at multiple forums and chaired conferences at several at international levels. She is on the advisory board of the Vidarbha Literary Festival and is an active member of Cine Montage, the oldest film society in central India. Ma'am has organized International Poetry Festival. She is a certified trainer for the British Council to teach business communication and spoken English, and various batches have been trained under her. An academic counselor for the diploma in creative writing course of IGNU. Ma'am has translated from Marathi into English literary works, and ma'am will be making a presentation on the topic literature and culture on the internet, right to live. So I welcome ma'am on behalf of the university, Rashtrasant Tukadoji Maharaj, Nagpur University, and the participants, and hand over the mic to her for her presentation. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kapil. Good morning, friends. Thank you for inviting me, first of all, Dr. Kapil Singhal, to address the participants of the refresher course in English. It's a good morning, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be interacting with you all as participants of a refresher course in English. I believe it's a UGC sponsor. And I understand you've been interacting with the experts who have engaged you in this theme of the refresher, literature, culture, and technology, mediations and intersections. This being the theme, right? So, as I see it, and as we all know, literature and technology today are intersecting and creating the culture that we consume. And alternately, we are living in a consumer society where we consume culture through technology more than we consume literature. So when Kapil sir said that this is going to be the theme of the refresher course, it was a very interesting one. And I thought I would like to share my views with the participants here. We are all teachers. You are all progressing in your careers, and we have been teaching, all of us together, students who have gone through various generations, I feel. And each generation of students poses a new challenge to all of us teachers. And the faster that we are becoming a consumer society, the more we are consuming literature as well. And we are not just reading literature. In today's parlance, we are consuming literature. And so we stand today at the intersection of these three phenomena: literature, technology, and thereby culture. The culture of reading literature in the classroom or in one's own home determines the reading of the culture that we create and we live in. So yesterday I thought I'd send you out a small questionnaire. And I'm so happy to see that all of you have responded to the questionnaire. And just before we start, talking about what is literature and culture on the internet, could you just unmute yourselves and switch on your cameras as well, so that I'd like to see who I'm talking to and what did you feel when you responded to those questions? If you may. Yes, that is so much better. Now I feel I'm in absolutely a space where I can interact. And this is real technology where we are sitting at our own homes or in our own workspaces, but at least we can get to see each other. And thank you so much for switching on your cameras. Hello, Pooja. Hello, Amy.
Yes, ma'am. Good
Nice
morning.
people here.
Ma'am. How are
Okay.
you?
Right. How are you?
Pleasure to have you here.
I beg your pardon?
It's such a pleasure to have you here. It's like listening you after a long, long time. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
You so much. Thank you so much. So the rest of you also, thank you so much for first of all responding to the questionnaire. I know we get very bored by answering questionnaires and filling up feedback forms, but this was a little interesting, I thought. So to my delight, I found that many of you were readers, isn't it? You were reading. You are reading something every day. And so many what can I say? I'll just like to share with you the responses in a little bit, a bit of time. I just wanted to show, a minute, I'll just share the responses with you. Where's the summary? Yeah. So this is very interesting that when the first question was, what do you prefer to read? And most of us like to read fiction is what I gathered. And how often do you pick up a book to read? 32% have said every day and 32% have said often. And sometimes it's a 25%. What is my go-to form of unwinding and relaxing? The largest number of people watch news on the television. And very interesting thing, do you write to publish on non-academic platforms? 40% of your group has said yes. And that is so interesting and it's very, very delightful to know. And I would like to talk more about what you are publishing on non-academic platforms. How many have published content on social media? 16 of you have said no, and 11 of you have said yes, that you do publish content. Do you have any online followers? 16 don't and 12 do. Which of the following groups that you return to offer, blogs and podcasts and your YouTube videos. So a large number of us go to YouTube, WhatsApp groups for entertainment or just to unwind. And 32 of us, 9 of you have said YouTube videos. And the rest have taken to Twitter or WhatsApp groups or blogs or vlogs. Or Twitter is very few. I mean, only 2 people. None of you belong to book clubs. Okay, 92%. That is 26 of you say no, and 2 people said yes. Do you attend the literary festival? So that also was a little bit, I mean, there were mixed responses there. Not many do. And do you know of any specific online book club or book reading communities? That too, number of 13 people said no. And have you been a participant at any creative writing course? No, 19 people said no, and 9 people said yes. Do you teach non-academic writing skills to your students? 15 have said no, and 13 have said yes. And where do you buy your books? 17 buy them online and 11 in a bookstore. And when buying a book, I prefer to first do what? So a large number of people have said read its review. And a lesser number of people have downloaded the sample first to read its first few pages. And somebody said, no, buy the book, never mind, because I love the author. 7 people have said that they buy the book because they love the author, never mind what she or he has written. Now, coming back to our, where is, I'll have to see where you are. I've lost you. There you are. So, just quick interaction. What does this tell us, or what did this tell you about your own reading habits? Did you ever want to question yourself in this way? Did you want to question yourself about any writing skills or reading skills that you have developed over the years, or your preferences? Can we just have some conversation going?
Ma'am, if I may.
Yeah, of course.
I just felt in the questionnaire, I thought a few choices would have, if they would have been added, at least for me particularly, I think that would have given me much more a platform wherein I could have revealed much more regarding my reading habits. For example, I am so sorry, but I don't recollect the questions as such in detail. For example, the question which you quoted just now, that which platform do you go to when you want to unwind? So I think there was no option of reading, like there wasn't an option of book. So definitely I would have loved to go to book, but because of lack of option, I went to YouTube. Yeah, I mean, that's the other option I go to. That's
correct. So other than books, what do you do? I mean, all right.
So yeah, I mean, at times, like, for me, when it comes to YouTube videos and all, at times I'm not, my mind is like, it's not functioning, it's not taking in. I'm just watching it for the sake of watching. Maybe I'm just, at times I just want to while away some time. So yeah, I'm there. But
so,
I'm not
so you're a reader. I mean, yeah, correct. You're a reader. That means you'd rather pick up a book and rather than do anything.
Definitely, yeah.
Right. Because here we're trying to see how much you read online, how much, what you, even when you see anything online, what I'm going to come to later on is that after all content is scripted before it is made into the image. So what kind of words would you like to hear? Anyone else? Quickly before we move on to my rest of the talk. Anyone? Would you like to?
I was going to say that while I prefer to buy books in the bookstore, most of the time the latest books are not there. So sometimes it's between these two, to buy it online, or whether if I have a chance, yes, I do go to the bookstore, but it's because it's not available that we have to resort to these online sources.
So that tells you the story of the bookstores also, isn't it?
Yes. It's terrible state.
Anyone else? Thank you so much, Abhinami. All right.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Yes. Good morning.
Ma'am, usually I read Indian Express and Lok Sat also. There are book reviews. And, in the Indian literature, the journal by Sahitya Academy, I read reviews, and if I find any book of my interest or area of interest, I just search for those books, and I prefer to buy online because there are discounts and many more options also.
Correct.
And there is bookox.org. If I don't find, there are PDF, free PDF copies of books. I pick from there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mahendra Sahare. Right? Thank you so much. One more person, and then we'll move on to what I have for you. All right. In case nobody is forthcoming, I will just get down to what I was saying. So, when we talk about reading and writing, so I wanted to draw your attention to the many changes that have taken place in our lives in the past 10 years, which have to do with how we read, what we read, where we read, and how we write and how we publish also. So most of us do academic writing, reading, and publishing. These are all included in these changes. But I would like to focus more on that aspect of our lives as teachers and academicians who are primarily in a profession, if not a vocation, of reading and writing and listening and speaking. So I think I'll share my presentation with you now. Share screen. Yeah. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. It's there.
How do I make it full screen?
Full screen is visible. Yes, ma'am.
1 minute. Yeah, is this full screen now? Yeah. So as teachers in the classroom, we read and speak more than we listen and write, I'm sure. As people in the profession of teaching, we write research papers, which we need to publish in peer-reviewed and UGC care-listed journals, book chapters in anthologies, if not whole books, publish as or perish, as they say. So we write to live. We write academic writing, whether we like it or not. And we get caught up in a quagmire of administrative writing, isn't it? We have to do self-study reports, we do vision documents, we do perspective plans. Even though we may convince ourselves that this kind of writing also requires creativity, we are often overwhelmed with a kind of writing which is in danger of becoming monotonous and repetitive. So vision documents and perspective plans are the kind of formal writing that teachers are continuously grappling with. But then that kind of writing that is required for these documents, again, is not my focus here today. So look at the words in the slide before you. As teachers, we seldom write fiction or even non-fiction for that matter. But we read a lot of content on the internet which falls into these genres. The writing on these platforms is stylistically different than the prose of the novel or a compilation of stories of other parts of the world or other cultures. And today, journaling has become quite a buzzword. We have psychobabble on the internet. We turn to self-help, we turn to spirituality. We go online for the health tips, for fitness, for recipes, for fashion. Whenever you engage with these, that means you are reading content online. So if we as teachers, if we are teaching, if we are reading as readers as well as teachers, how do we need to keep writing to keep living meaningfully as well as to stay relevant with our students? That was what got me. How much do we write and what do we write? How much of it percolates to our students? And what do we do with the writing and the reading that we do? Does it translate into something definitive with our students, with the people that we live with on a daily basis? What are the various avenues people adopt in order to write in the age of the internet? So this is the kind of writing. I mean, there are many more, of course. This is just a small bit. Now, when we talk about writing for media, and we understand that it is all going to be a part of the digital marketing process, we see so many areas where writing is going to be translated into media, into the visual culture. The word is going to be transformed to the image. And this is going to be producing culture. The production of culture in a mechanical or technologically driven world is no longer something that is a niche skill now. We learn new vocabulary daily. we have content writing, which is, I think, the most sought after skill now. And when we teach literature to our students, when we have the subjects of compulsory English and supplementary English and English for special purposes, linguistics, at the end of the day, we do know that these skills, even though we talk about English being required everywhere, these skills, or especially a BA and MA in literature nowadays, is not going to get you many jobs in that particular field unless you go into teaching. And so we teach our students to upskill themselves, diversify themselves into different types of writing and reading, which will help them no matter where they go. The literature and therefore the culture that we consume on the internet is very, very importantly written and visual. So they combine to create an internet culture of consumption. The mediations are between literature and technology, and part of cultural studies programs across universities. We are teaching and discussing popular culture more than highbrow literature. There's a new focus area every month for communities to engage with, and film script writing, advertising, podcasts, Instagram reels, whatever floats around on WhatsApp universities, flyers, brochures. We engage with writing, if not for film script, at least we engage with writing for the rest, and we think and read about it. We listen to podcasts. We always wonder who has written the script for this audio file that I'm listening to? Who has written the script for the film that I'm watching? Who has written the script for the brochure that's doing the rounds? Anything what you see on your screens today, somebody has written it. When we make our own videos, or when we shoot our own videos, when we make our own PowerPoint presentations, we are scripting something, we are using technology all the time. So right to live becomes the mantra for all forms of publishing, print, online. So right to live, that is why I've subtitled my talk Right to Live, because we need to write, we live and we write to live. We are always writing something or the other. And so therefore we create cultures of reading cultures and the culture of reading. Some of my questions on that was also to find out how much you read. And these are the few spaces on the internet which are now flourishing. Have you heard of Substack and Medium? Can anybody just unmute themselves? Have you heard of Substack, Medium?
Ma'am, I've heard of Medium. I've been reading a lot of articles on Medium lately.
Okay.
Medium, right?
Right. You
Yeah.
are.
And there's also Madhumanti. And there's also inc.com.
Inc.com. Okay, great.
Yeah. So I was even planning to publish something online because those articles really interested me. And they were on general issues of health, how to fight daily anxiety.
Absolutely.
And some were on spirituality, something which we would like to read, just for unwinding or even for daily well-being. And a lot of book reviews are available also over there. Some new books regarding, anything. I read something on Paulo Coelho's latest book. It was a very interesting read, something on his philosophy. So in order to even find out which books are trending and, something that fits your interest, you can find out, pick out a book from there and then actually buy it and read.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that some people are on Substack, because Substack is something which I discovered a couple of years ago. And Medium, you're talking about Medium, of course. Medium also has so many writers who are expressing themselves in a way that we wouldn't have dared to earlier. And this gives rise to so much of the writing that we see around us today. The internet has become the most extensive archive for storing and giving access to books. You must have heard about the Project Gutenberg. You must have heard about Goodreads and Google Books. Now, these are all spaces which have created communities, online communities. And the lockdown, though, has definitely made you aware of the way in which we can engage with ourselves and be at home in the world, so to speak. There are so many book reading communities, online book chat rooms. Have you heard of Bookstagram on Instagram? Have you heard of who is a book tuber on YouTube? E-books now and e-book readers, there's a tug of war between which is the better medium to read a book. There are diehard fans of the Kindle ebook reader as well because of lack of space, because of portability, mobility, reading on the go. But given a choice, I would definitely want a print book in my hand any day and smell the covers and smell the pages of the book. So these are various things that we see on the internet. We have, I mean, bookstores are actually dying out. They are closing down. One of the most popular bookstores in Nagpur has shut down. But even then, we cannot lose hope because everything is going online. And increasingly, the worry is that the large giants, Amazon and Apple, they are dominating the distribution system of book publishing as well as book selling. Large publication houses, therefore, are tying up with these marketing giants in order to increase their sales. And the materiality of the book has come more and more into question as to how do you touch your book? You can't touch your book because it's on your phone, it's on your tablet or your computer or your Kindle. Another important thing which is just, what can you say, which is really mushroomed is the subsidiary business of writing book reviews on Amazon by customers. I read a book and I quickly write a 3-line or a 15-line or a 2-paragraph review as to what I liked about the book. So that becomes something that somebody has an opinion about. Is it a good in-depth book review as the way we know it? And customers are being asked to write the book reviews. They are not readers. Goodreads also has book reviews. So writing to live becomes commercial capital. Now, reading and writing also becomes dictated by algorithms. When we go on to Amazon to buy a book, how do we get to know about new books anyway? We scroll Amazon, or we go into the publication sites, or we follow an author. Again, following an author. He is driven by these market economics to stay relevant. Amazon is suggesting our next read for us. Now, this is a book which I would like you to, 1 minute, I want to reduce this. How do I reduce this anyway? Okay, let me reduce this. I don't think I can. All right. The digital literary sphere, reading, writing, and selling books in the internet era in 2018. This is a book which I came across, and it is a wonderful, detailed, and in-depth study of reading, writing, and selling books on the internet. In case you want to know what is currently happening, she charts, this is a very crucial and interdisciplinary study, and she charts what she terms is what we are living in now is the digital literary sphere. She takes a studied look at literature and literary culture in the age of the internet. The digital literary sphere becomes the topic of study. What is she studying? Book history, print culture studies, media studies, electronic literary studies. And each chapter addresses how an aspect of literary culture has been digitally remediated. She problematizes the nature of the book review and the critical appreciation of a book. Like I said, we as consumers cannot really give an in-depth review of anything. What she also talks about is, in the first chapter, she investigates how digital media have reconstituted the ways that authors enter into and self-perform with the digital literary sphere. They're performers. In a do-it-yourself revolution, we construct our own identities as authors. And there is an ongoing control over an author's public persona as well. What are the new expectations of an author? They are self-made. The author maintains her own or his own website. And the author also interacts with the audiences via social media. Each author nowadays has a Twitter handle. And publishing houses follow each new upcoming author or an established author through their Twitter and Instagram handles. And they get invited to literary festivals, they get invited to do book launches or even book talks, depending on their Twitter followers. Therefore, what happens is that the authors take on the role of literary agents to engage with their publics and they promote their works. There is also a next. What happens is that then there is a death of the author and there is a birth of the performer. Each author promotes herself online, manages her public persona, as I said, on Instagram and Twitter. They become their own literary agents. The authors promote their own work. So what happens is that the publishers get disintermediated. They will no longer be required a publisher, but yet we want a physical book in our hands. If we meet the author, we want to go up to her and get her to sign the book on the first page. This happens while inviting authors to literary festivals. If we think that ebooks are a way to democratize literature and authorship and reduce the gap between the elite author and the common reader, we are mistaken. Even though the author may do all of the above, do everything, the cultural hierarchy is still kept alive by the publishers. They do not want to get disintermediated. They want to be the mediator between the author and the reader. So Murray has explained in her book that writers are still considered only legitimate in this hierarchy once they obtain a hard copy manuscript. That's the only way that publishers can stay relevant without being disintermediated. And publishing book reviewers might be out of his job of endorsing an author and reviewing their book with the training of literary criticism under their belts. Amazon encourages customer reviews to increase sales. And in no way are they authentic or critically sound book reviews. But the consumer is willing to be led or even misled by a fellow reader. And he's anonymous at best to dictate his book buying choices. Now, how does book publishing meet digital media technologies? Henry Jenkins has described it as a convergence culture when you have digital media meeting publishing. Jim Collins, on the other hand, has written in 2010, bring on the books for everybody. New media is bringing back culture of reading books in print, writing online. The fear of the death of the book whips up a frenzy of clutching onto the printed word. Movie adaptations, selling serial rights to OTT platforms, Bookstagram on the internet, enticements to read the best 50 books or 10 books to read before the year is out. The Booker Prize shortlists or any prestigious book prizes or recognitions, they create a flurry of book buying, movie adaptations, serializations. And this new media frenzy has re-ascribed special cultural value to the printed book. There's a cult of reading and print culture that is not diminished, but it is fueled now by digital environments. So the internet abounds in bookish sites and sub-communities, book lovers. Some people in the publishing industry dub the bookternet. The rise of the bookternet further advances the integration of traditional book reading with new media practices. there is also a rise of a popular literary culture promoted by various media channels. NDTV used to have book clubs on television where they would invite authors. Publication houses promote, like one of the participants just now said, Indian Express and Times of India had regular pages devoted. They have now shifted online. Interestingly, the cataloging site Goodreads was launched in 2007. And by 2018, it counted 65 million members who list, review, and debate their reading. That becomes a separate community altogether. So the minute you find a new book, you go on to Goodreads to know what it is about. And they debate on it also. They have discussions also. They spread the word also. In spite of all this, we feel that we are not reading enough. I mean, we have talked about all this, but we still feel people don't read enough. That is the bane. Oh, no, our students don't read. But if you have so much reading happening that Amazon bought Goodreads in a bid to increase its outreach in 2013. On YouTube, there are bloggers or YouTubers who call themselves booktubers. They're blogging about books and reading. We have hashtags on Instagram, Bookstagram. On Tumblr, there is a separate community. In Nagpur also, there are so many book clubs. And if you've heard of Swap Book, that's another very good book club where you go and swap your books and you read and you discuss and you talk books. A new form of publishing on the internet is on Substack. And I used to follow this author called L. Griffin. And she writes her, she runs a Substack called The Novelist. She invited her readers to read her work before she published. She serialized her Gothic dystopian novel. She created a business model. And currently, she is writing her next novel, which is utopian. And the first novel that she wrote like this was called Obscurity. Every week or every couple of weeks, she would send emails to her readers who were either her subscribers or were free readers. Now, the business model which Substack asks for is very different from a Medium business model or a WordPress business model. Now, this vocabulary is very new to us. It was new to me. If I want to write, I knew the simple way of writing something, going to a publisher, the book doing the rounds and never being published and waiting, then self-publishing. So this is another form of self-publishing on Substack, which I really found very interesting. And if you see all those pictures there on my screen, they're what she uses as hooks for her next piece of writing or her next chapter. And she announces, my next chapter will come out on this. And in this is going to happen, or that character is going to be doing this. So wait for it. And the readers would comment, the readers would add their own anticipatory comments. The readers would tell L. Griffin what they wanted. It was almost a crowd-sourced book. And a couple of months ago, because I follow her, I got an email saying that we are going to launch the next book. And she writes here, last September, I debuted my Gothic novel Obscurity as a serial. I sent one chapter to my newsletter subscribers every week until it was done. And now I'm holding the very first edition in my hand. I have even sent it off to my paid subscribers at the collector tier. My experiment was a success, even if I tweaked it so many times as I went. My hypothesis was that serial fiction, where readers pay a monthly or yearly subscription, could be a better way for authors to earn a living from their work than putting their books on Amazon for $10. I was right. inspired by The Count of Monte Cristo, which was published as a serial with great success. I started with 1,700 newsletter subscribers and grew that to 6,066 over the course of the last year, 262 of which became paying subscribers, earning my newsletter $16,707 in gross volume. Now, exactly 1 year later, I'm getting ready to debut my utopian novel Oblivion, and as a serial, and I'm tweaking my process. Again, here's everything you need to know about Oblivion and how I'm going to publish it this year. And she sends a link. She gives you a link for you to click on. This was such a novel thing. This was such a very different platform where you could choose to publish and print and read and write, that it's a wonder none of us haven't jumped onto that bandwagon and started publishing and started writing on our own. But that is something which can be done and which we can talk to our students about doing. So many times we get scared of writing. I'm going to go back to one of the slides which I wanted to talk about. This slide, when Simone Murray talks about problematizing the nature of the book review and the critical appreciation of a book, I remember this kind of writing which L. Griffin is doing. And what kind of a book review would come from a book that is crowdsourced? How would we are continuously reviewing the book, isn't it? If we are participating it as readers, if she is drawing from our own ideas. Secondly, not necessarily would she be getting inputs. She will be writing on her own. And if this comes to you on a screen, or will it come to you on Kindle? Again, that's another area which I've not gone into today. The whole e-book reader controversy almost is because publishers are unwilling to give away the rights to the author. Remember, the book is not sold to you. If you buy a book on Kindle, it's not sold to you. It is licensed. And there is no copyright, I believe. I mean, I'm still a little gray over there. But as I was reading that, and I admit I need to read a little more about the laws there, the laws of publishing for Kindle, I believe that they say that it is a licensed copy. The publisher, or Kindle rather, can revoke the license for that book. Whereas if we have a print book, we have copyrights forever. I mean, for all time. What about libraries? If you're reading a book on Kindle, and therefore the digital literary sphere becomes something which becomes a little problematic. If we are to read anything on Kindle, if as Murray says, if we want to democratize the reading process, if we want to have culture and literature reaching every single reader, no matter what status, what level, what country, how does a book which is kept within the confines of a material object, which is consisting of data, bytes, how will I share my book with you if it is on my Kindle? I found that a little problematic, and that is what Simone Murray also talks about. The last point on this screen, which I wanted to talk also, was what is the meaning of paratextual wrapping capacities? When you read, if you're Kindle readers, if you realize when you read on the Kindle, the algorithms or the Kindle itself tells you, as you're reading, it will underline in very faint dots. It will underline how many people have liked this or underlined this or highlighted it. This is a bit of a problem because we don't want any kind of interruptions to know the reading community has that I would borrow books from my dad, and I would, while reading, I would read his notations also, what he had made when he was writing. So that becomes an inclusive it becomes an inclusive act of reading, but it also becomes a disruptive act of reading. And that is what Simone Murray calls as paratextual wrapping capacities. You are on the margins, you have somebody else peeping in. So what kinds of privacy issues does this come up? That can be something that we need to look into also. Which brings me to the last part of my talk. How do books, readers, writers, and publishers, how do they... Literary festivals are very popular. They are getting more popular, and which shows that people are reading. We do not have to mourn the loss of a readership, because cities are basing their festivals out of their own home spaces. We have heard of JLF, the Bangalore Lit Fest, the Kolkata Lit Fest, the Delhi, Mumbai, Ahmedabad. But the tier 2 cities now are coming up in a big way. And it is so heartening to see our own Nagpur having our Vidarbha Literary Festival as well as another one. And VLF is purely non-fiction. Ranchi, Kanpur, Indore, Kokrajhar, there are at least 65 lit fests in India. They are theme-based or issue-based. The Northeast Literature Festival, Minor Language at Kokrajhar Festival, Jashn-e-Rekhta at Delhi, where you have ghazal, Sufi music, and Dastan Goy being, I mean, art and culture and literature, cinema, music, environment, climate, all these come together, and a whole new ecosystem of the literary festival promoting reading cultures and the culture of reading. The Gateway Lit Fest by the NCP is exclusively for regional writers. The Gulmarg Lit Fest is for Kashmiri, Dogri, Pahari, Gojri, Punjabi authors. Please do go to a literature festival if you haven't. Make that little bit of an effort, because as literature teachers and consumers of culture, I will say the word consumers, because here this is a mass consumption happening, and a whole new economics and a business dynamics of literary festivals also is now currently in place. But the most important part of any literary festival is that the capacity and community building that takes place. We draw in youngsters. We allow the youngsters to move around with authors, touch and feel the books, and understand that there is a supremely alive and a healthy community which from the margins can be brought into the mainstream. The literature festivals take up the responsibility of preserving culture, arts, and humanities. Now, look at that. Queer Lit festivals, Queer Lit Fest in Chennai, the Awadh Queer Lit Fest, the Rainbow Lit Fest in Delhi, they are promoting the marginalized communities in toto. I mean, we cannot do anything more than have a big shout out to these literature festival organizers for taking up the causes so well that we need to take up in society, and not keep it to theory or not keep it between textbooks, but bring it out into the streets, bring it out into the open. The Green Lit Fest in Bangalore is something which deals with environment and ecology and climate change. When we write, we have to write to live. We have to live to write and live to write. Live to write and write to live. And I come back at the end of my talk and presentation to come back to our students. I mean, what kind of writing are we teaching our students? What kind of reading are we hoping that they will do? Outside the classroom is more important. We get stuck to our syllabi. We are not as yet in a position to create our own syllabi. Yet we can expand it, and we can go into an extension activity by telling them the pros and cons of content writing on the internet. It will only be providing employability to our students. We need to teach the reading and writing for global competencies. We have to be able to write for media ourselves. We have to create our own platforms where we journal every day or write in a structured format, writing our own selves and writing our own bodies. If we do deep work, we must do deep reading as well. And thereby we can give our students the contrast between canonical literature and popular literature. So at the end of my talk today, I'm going to draw your attention to what is also out there: teaching, writing, reading, and literature and culture through technology. I come back to the main topic. We have careers in writing. We can create creative writing courses and workshops for our students and learn also on our own while we attend or organize those workshops. We have to create content writers for all types of media because we want to listen, we want to read good language. Far too often, we are faced with bad language, and if only we start writing to um, somebody needs to mute themselves. Yeah. So unless and until I feel, unless I write more, I cannot be a better teacher to teach my students to write better. I do that. I practice writing a little bit every day just to get myself going. Far too often we find we get stuck in only the teaching and reading and not the writing and thinking to write. So another important thing was writing for video games. If we want to encourage our students to do good writing, this can be, instead of the stock essay writing and paragraph writing, we can create opportunities to have them write for video games or Instagram reels, or even small snippets like writing two-liners for OTTs. When we want to choose which movie to watch on Netflix, don't we look at what the movie is all about? There is a little icon, info, and I always marvel at how tiny the description is. Just 2 lines, and in 2 lines, I decide whether to watch this movie or not. So imagine how very, very important those 2 lines are for that movie. We need graphic designers, we need skilled writers so that the graphic designs can come out well. Thank you. I'm booked. Thank you so much. Kapil sir, I think we can have some discussions going. I can see Rupa, Sori.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, I've come to the end of my talk. And
Okay.
So in case there are no discussions or questions.
Well, it's up to them. 28 participants.
Hello.
Yes.
Ma'am, good morning. This is Dr. Siddharth Patil.
Yeah.
And ma'am, I work in a rural area completely, where we find students lack most of the means, they lack in English language specifically. And it is not a challenge, but really I personally feel that the challenge of to teach them how to speak, speaking, reading, even writing also, they don't have that much proper skills. So please focus on some things for teachers like us.
Yeah, so that's absolutely correct, because for all the for whatever we say, we will always say some things which are for an ideal world, I feel. 70% of our students are still unable to grasp the basic writing skills, far from
Right.
far from doing any creative writing work on their own.
That's
And
great.
so given that situation, what can we do? We are forced to teach grammar from the basics. We are forced to teach them vocabulary from the basics. So I feel instead of being disheartened and giving up on our tasks, I feel we just try what I do with my Hindi or Marathi medium students. I give them a task every single day. Write at least 2 sentences, speak at least 2 words. Tell me about what you have read. And then we find that they don't read at all. They don't read. which is
Yeah,
why,
ma'am. Same situation.
yeah, so we use the visual media for that. Then we use whatever is on the internet. We ask them to read that. We ask them
Okay.
to, yeah. So if they have a mobile phone, and ask them, even if they're on WhatsApp, ask them to read, even if it is not in English, ask them to read whatever they have on WhatsApp in their own languages. And then ask them to communicate it to you in the language that you're trying to teach them. For me, for us as English teachers, I feel we need to get them some modicum of reading habits. But if they form their own reading habits in their own mother tongue, also it is very good. For me, I feel that harping on English reading and harping on reading of the English newspaper, all that is very well. But if we create in them a culture of reading even in their own languages, that will increase their interest in reading in something in English later on. If we encourage them to read in their own languages also. The translation method is always there, but use that translation method with new media, with all these social media platforms that you can. Up till now, we used to scold our kids for using social media platforms. Now we encourage them. Now we should encourage them so that they will use those platforms, interact and engage with them. And as I told you, the different kinds of writing and publishing online in English, if you can find it similarly in Hindi, Marathi, wherever you are, and get them interested in that. And form your own book club. Do you have a book club in your college, sir?
No, ma'am. Actually, we have mono faculties, only arts faculty, and only with compulsory English we are going on. So we don't have English literature properly.
Doesn't matter.
But I try to teach them whatever means through our compulsory English syllabus, whatever come across. So I try to teach them how to read newspapers, like articles from Hitwa, the Indian News Express, and translation also, as you earlier mentioned. So these kinds of efforts, which I really try to endeavor with my students.
So I can tell you, instead of doing, I mean, it's wonderful. We all have been doing that. But moving from newspapers, please go to more exciting content. Please go over to social media. I mean,
Yeah, ma'am. Actually,
because that
we
is
have.
very interesting. Because if we are on Twitter, if we are on Instagram, and if we are on LinkedIn, we can use the language on LinkedIn and the language on Twitter to teach them the language of English. And yeah, sorry, you were saying something.
Yeah, ma'am. Actually, we form WhatsApp groups, and in WhatsApp groups, we often try to chat in English language.
Absolutely.
And I ask them to post some words, post some sentences, whichever they grab from lecture or whichever they grab from their day-to-day, everyday experiences.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is the way. That's the way to go. And the more interesting and more funky you make those sentences, the more out of the box or the more unusual and shocking you make those sentences, you should always surprise and shock them. Arey, sir, ye bol rahe hain. Arey, I didn't know. Arey, wo bahut hi cool hai, sir. If you can get them to feel that interest in our personalities as teachers, then we can mold them to slowly look at more serious passages. So could you switch on your camera? I again can't see anybody, if you don't mind. Yeah, okay, hello. Yeah. So that can be done. I mean, that if you can. Yeah. Thank you so much, all of you, for switching on your camera. Because of these little boxes and what do you say, initials, we all are reduced to these tiny tiles. Yeah. So Pooja Pandya and Rupa Sori, Nilima Meher, lovely names, Sunita Bhoy. Where are you from, all of you? Pooja Pandya, Dr. Pooja Pandya? You'll have to admit.
Nagpur only, ma'am.
Nagpur. And yeah, somebody was saying something. So would you like to share your reading and writing practices here so that we can get a discussion going? What would you do to write to live? What do you write, rather? Are you writing anything? Would you like to start writing on Substack? I think I have already, and now I just need to get the courage to publish it out there.
Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello, Dr. Pooja. You were sharing something with us.
Myself, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am. Myself, Digambar Wankhede.
Hello, Mr.
I have
Dr.
written 3 books related to the BA first year, second year, and final year. About English literature, I have written some. I have focused on literary reviews. There are some poems, dramas, one-act plays, and there are some literature which is included in BA first year, second year, and final year students' syllabus.
Wow, that's so
So
good.
it will help
Wonderful.
them to get. It will help them to qualify examinations, or it will help them to understand the poem, short stories, essays, literary terms, literary theories.
Okay. So you've
Also, I have
written.
published more than 25 research papers. There are so many research papers in a peer review and in a UGC care list also included.
Wonderful. That's so good to know. That's so good to know.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Also, I have one website also.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
What's your website? Maybe you could like to share it with us.
But ma'am, before 2 months, it's not revised for some technical problems.
Okay.
It is in a working
Yeah.
process.
That's technology for you. We have to make a.
Yes. I have also YouTube channels. Share
Oh,
so
wow.
many videos.
Oh, wow.
Yes, ma'am. Nice to meet you, ma'am.
Okay, nice to meet you too.
you.
Thank you so much. That is so encouraging, isn't it? I mean, with this kind of technology, we are all burgeoning directors and writers and media persons ourselves. Yeah. I'm so glad you got I still haven't got the courage to make my own YouTube channel or write my own and publish on my own Substack. I mean, I shall take inspiration from all of you also.
Ma'am, I was going to say, please do publish. I'm eager to read that, whatever you have written.
I
Even
think
the
I will.
abstract would be interesting if you could share it with us. Ma'am, what genre have you chosen, ma'am?
To write.
Uh-huh.
I write poetry and I write short fiction, short essays. So I have built up a collection. So I think I shall publish it very soon on Substack itself. So we'll send you the link.
Yes, ma'am, please do.
Yeah. And that's what I've observed about myself also. We keep writing. I keep writing, but I don't publish it. I mean, it's there, stacked away. So it has to be a Substack now. Yeah.
Ma'am, if I may interrupt or maybe add on. Pooja here, ma'am.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. Ma'am, I was just saying, if we so look up to you people, so if you feel shy or maybe are lagging behind in publishing, so where do we go, right? So please go ahead. We are just waiting.
I will
Definitely.
definitely. I think I'm just lazy. I think I'm just lazy. I should just go about doing things. I should learn something from my mentors and peers.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so I hope this helped a little bit. I kept it deliberately light. You've been at the end of a long refresher course, so I didn't give you too much heavy stuff. Just kept it light and simple. I hope it was useful and productive. But we need to write. We need to write and we need to keep writing and reading so that we can get better writing out there. So thank you, sir. Kapil sir, in case there is no other question or comment.
Yeah, anyone else?
Yeah.
So may I now invite Madam Rupa Sori to propose the vote of thanks. Over to you, Sori, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving me an opportunity to thank our resource person, Dr. Ruta Dharmadhikari, ma'am. On behalf of Rashtra Tukadoji Maharaj, Nagpur University, Nagpur, the organizer of our refresher course, I extend a hearty vote of thanks to our resource person, Dr. Ruta Dharmadhikari ma'am, who spared time from her busiest schedule to grace the occasion. Today, we had an opportunity to hear on literature, culture, and technology. By this, we are going to get encouraged in all our future events. Ma'am, your thoughts has enlightened our man. Thank you so much, ma'am.